the great thing about cameras are that they are just so many out there. But this can sometimes be quite confusing, and certain cameras get really good names and reputations and others get slightly forgotten. The K1000, the Pentax, as a starter camera is always the camera people recommend. Oh, you must get a K1000, and because everyone keeps recommending them, they are quite expensive, where other cameras get forgotten. And this Ricoh, this is a KR5, and in its day of 1978 to about 1983 there was different versions. This is a slightly early version because of the lens. These were quite well thought of cameras, not quite in the top end of the Pentax Nikons, but Ricoh have always had a fairly good solid reputation. And I do remember when this camera came out, it was quite well reviewed. The build of the camera, I think, is a really nice solid build, and I feel what Ricoh did was they built a well-made camera, but some of the features were just slightly lower. On this early model of this KR5, the lens is a 2.2, which was slightly slower to the standard 1.7 and 1.8, which you were getting with the likes of Pentax and Olympus. However, if you compare it to cameras 10 years previously, which were the fast cameras were 2.8, a 2.2 is absolutely fine for most situations. The lovely thing about the Ricoh is it is the Pentax bayonet mount. So we just click lens there, the red dot. So there are millions of lenses out there which will fit this camera. It is a manual camera, and it's manual from lots of different perspectives. This one has a film in, so I'm not going to open the camera for you. However, you have to load the film manually and wind on. Here you've got shutter speeds from B, which is a bulb, to 500th of a second, so that's slightly lower than some other cameras, and that might be something you feel you really want a camera with 1000th of a second. However, I would say if you find one of these in good condition, then it's a really good camera to have a go at. And you don't use I personally don't use 1000th of a second very often if I'm shooting 100 ASA film. And I think when you are using 35mm film, 100 is the really ideal film to use. The 400 is nice, but it begins to get grainy, as I've talked before. One of the problems with 35mm is the size, and you do need to enlarge the image. So going back to the Ricoh, you've got a good range of film speeds you can use with the camera, and to use the camera, this is where it starts with you thinking, oh, this is a bit like a Pentax because it has a Pentax K mount, but when you look through the viewfinder and focus, in order to get the light meter on, you have to bring out the wind-on lever, which is very similar to some of the Nikons, in particular the Nikon mount. You have to bring out the lever. The only problem with that, if you are left eye, it's going to, well, it's not exactly going to blind you, but it is slightly annoying. However, it's something I find I can live with. And you simply alter, there's a needle in the right hand side and an indicator with a little circle, and you basically you bring up the lever until it matches the little circle. You fit it in the circle, and that will give you your aperture reading. So for example, in here it's about 5.6 if I'm shooting over there with this light. Okay, so you take your photograph, you wind on, obviously focus, set speed, take aperture meter reading, focus, shoot, wind on. Okay, and then when you get to the end of the film, you obviously need to press this button at the bottom and wind the lever here. It takes, for the meter, it takes 2 small AG batteries, which are easily obtainable. And one of the great things with this camera is it's totally manual. So if the batteries do go flat, although you obviously don't have the meter there, but you can still use the camera and use a eye adjustment for the meter. So the camera is still usable even though the batteries go flat. The thing you might have to look out for on a camera of this age, because they are now 40 years old, is you might find that the felt has gone at the back, so the light seal this is, and you might need to fit a new light seal in there, but that is quite easy to do. The KR10 from my memory has aperture priority on it as well, where the KR5 is strictly manual. I remember when I was at college, a number of people I knew had these and spoke very highly of them. I've been using this camera recently, and again I've been really pleased with how it handles, the build quality of the camera and the results from the camera. So don't look down your nose at one of these. If you find a Ricoh in good condition, it can do well. Thank you for watching.